And now, live from the Macon studios of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's Your Money.
Good morning, Middle Georgia, and welcome to Your Money. We are Randy and Sherri Goss with Rosenberg Financial Group. And as financial advisors, the main thing that we do is provide retirement planning advice and manage our clients' investment accounts. And if you're looking for a financial advisor, please contact our office to set up your complimentary consultation. Our office number is 478-922-8100, and we have offices in Macon and Warner Robins for your convenience. To find out more about us, visit our website, retirerelax.com, where you can read a number of special reports and listen to past radio show broadcasts. And you can sign up to receive our digital feeds, which provide great information on various subjects in short video format. We also offer free seminars, so if you're a member of a church or a community group and you're looking for a guest speaker, please give us a call. And if you'd like to call in today to contribute to the show, the number is 478-742-0940. You can also send me an email to randy@rfmoney.com, and we'll cover your question in a future broadcast. And good morning, Sherri.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's a nice day outside, huh?
It's going to be beautiful.
Wow, this is a great time to be at the fair. I mean, what a wonderful day to be strolling through the fair. Not 90 degrees, you know.
And if you need to upgrade your phone, Verizon will have stores all over the fairgrounds, which was the best thing last year when we went.
Yeah, we don't own stock in Verizon, and no personal interest, but that was a great find for us last year. I think our son told us to go by there if we wanted to upgrade our phones, and we did, and we just gave them Sherri's old piece of junk phone and came back when they text me, which is 2 hours later. So we got to do a lot of fun stuff in the meantime instead of sitting around a Verizon store.
Right.
So it was a nice way.
It was worth the $15 entrance fee just to get the phone fixed.
It was. Well, that and the funnel cake too. That was pretty damn good. Let's not forget the funnel cake. So anyway, moving forward here, on the first time since 2010, auto loan debt has outpaced student loan debt, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. This is likely due to the pause in the student loan accrual during the pandemic, as well as a blistering rate of vehicle prices increases over the last couple of years. As federal student loan payments resume this month and interest rates remain high, many consumers find it increasingly difficult to keep up with the loan payments. Wow, we have a caller first thing.
Good morning, you're on with Randy and Sherri.
Hey, good morning. This is your favorite listener from Paris, Georgia.
Good morning.
Good morning, Robin. We were wondering where you were at. You didn't call last week.
Well, you're right. I didn't call last week. I was just giving you a break because this week's going to be a very, 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 your money. I'm going to leave it on your money because, like you just mentioned about the state fair, I was the Georgia National Fair.
Right.
I'll be out there this year, too, as far as in the North Gate.
You selling corn again?
Selling corn again.
All right.
So we'll be doing the same thing. So, and also we want to remind the folks that Oak Valley State will be playing today, so there's going to be some lot of activity. They're going to be playing Savannah State at 6 p.m. in Fort Valley. And last year they played in Macon, and I'm not going to criticize the officiating, but
hey, Robin, you should wear a hat so that all the listeners who know you from this show can pick you out in the crowd down there in that corn booth that you're working in.
Well, you're right about that. I guess I'll tell you what I'm going to have. On the back of my shirt, I will have a turkey leg. So there's
a turkey leg?
Yes, a turkey leg.
Very nice.
So look for the guy with the turkey leg.
Yeah, look for the guy with the turkey leg, the North corn stand. That you see is
so if all of our listeners go out today, go to the north entrance and go to is it the first? There were two down there last year. Is it the first booth or the second one?
With the first one, when you come into the North Gate, you go about halfway down, and we are right in the center.
You sit in the center.
Can't miss it. Right.
Very good.
Man, love to see you all again this year.
Everybody swing through.
You're right about that. And just one more thing, as far as with the Braves too, they'll be playing today, and you know what they only have to do is to win all of their home games. They'll win the World Series because they got the best record, so they got the home court advantage and home field advantage. And
they're strong this year. That's good.
And then if they go to the World Series, since the National League won the All-Star game, they will have the home field advantage doing that. So the only thing they have to do is just win all of their home games which I hope they do.
That's right.
But anyway, we're going to let you go, and I just want to tell you all the good news that is going on. I know there's a lot of bad news, but I don't want to mention anything about that. So.
Right. Well, we wish you the best out there today, and
have fun.
Be safe and have fun.
Have a good time.
Right, and we'll just love to see you all. Okay, we'll talk to you later then.
All
okay?
Right.
Okay, everybody, Northgate, center aisle, first.
Right.
Corn stand. Yeah. Okay.
Right, that's where I'm at.
All right. Take care, Robin.
Okay, it's running my throat.
We'll see you.
Yeah.
All right. And back to this. Basically, what we're talking about is for the first time since 2010, the auto loan debt has outpaced student loan debts. And right now, you can expect that car prices are going to keep going up, especially with the unions demanding more
shut
money.
down.
And
not making engines.
That's right. So costs are going to continue to escalate. So you need to shop smart because you definitely don't want to be car poor. I mean, that's just a horrible way to go through life. Anyway, October is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month with incidents of identity theft and online fraud continuing to rise. This is a great reminder to be diligent with your online data. Make sure your passwords are strong and secure. Back up data regularly. And
back up to the passwords. We had a meeting yesterday, and the cyber lady in the meeting, she said, you would not believe the number of people that use the same password for everything they log in on. The same one. So if somebody hacks and gets one, they get into everything.
That's right. So yeah, you got to make sure that you're being smart about your own data. Turn on two-factor authentication, especially for sensitive financial account sites. Keep your machine updated with the latest system software. And think before you click. Never click on unknown links, or especially those asking for you to change a password. Install and utilize security software. So if you have questions or concerns about any of these steps, let us know, and we'd be happy to provide additional information. If you'd like to read our special report about how to prevent this from happening to you, go to our website, retirerelax.com, and click on Special Reports and open the one labeled Part 2. It has fewer graphics than the Part 1 version, but it's a very good special report on cybersecurity.
It is. Clorox just spent $25 million to respond to a cyber attack, driving their shares down from $160 to $125 yesterday in 2 months. MGM Resorts refused to pay hackers ransom in September and threw its Las Vegas Strip resorts into chaos, and the recovery is costing them $100 million. I have joined the Houston Healthcare IT team to help present their 2023 Cybersecurity Awareness Forum, which is happening on November 16th at the Kerry Martin Conference Center in Warner Robins. Email me at Sherri, Sherri, at rfmoney.com if you would like me to send you the flyer so you can help promote this event.
That's awesome.
And so we need to learn what we can do to prevent these cyber attacks and hacks, and you need to learn it, and then you need to share it with your family, because the elderly are seriously a threat.
That's right. And with AI, they're becoming more aggressive, and they're becoming just more realistic. And we had a great article. We're going to cover a little bit more of this next week, but AI is really changing the game on how good cyber attacks are becoming. So, okay, October is National Financial Planning Month, and that's a topic near and dear to our hearts. And as Ben Franklin said, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So just give us a call to schedule some time to talk, and we look forward to hearing from you. Here is the thing with a financial plan. Like any plan, it's useless unless it is activated. That means when you sit with a financial advisor, they're going to collect a lot of data from you to include your short and long-term goals, your current income and expenses, projected income and expenses, a lot of data. And this is gathered so that the advisors can create a comprehensive plan to give you a guide so you can do better in your spending and your savings on your trek to financial security.
And be able to retire and relax.
That's right. So if you're looking to get on the path for financial security, come see us. That number is 478-922-8100, and we'll just ask you a few questions and set you up an appointment.
Yep. So the markets were basically flat for the week. The word recession is everywhere in the news, and it sounds scary, but a technical recession is just a period of temporary economic decline during which trade and industrial activity are reduced, generally identified by a fall in GDP in 2 successive quarters. It is not the end of the world, and we've been going through a rough economy now for 1.5 years, which is getting really old. This has been a headline ever since the Fed started raising interest rates. The dollar.
And let me jump in here too. You know, if you're looking at your investment accounts in September and maybe even through October, these are the 2 worst months of the year, and it's traditionally, statistically speaking, though, that the following months pick back up significantly. So just hang in there.
The 10-year Treasury rate reached a 16-year high Monday to 4.68%, which has increased the value of the dollar. In the U.S., a strong dollar is politically popular and largely good for consumers because it holds down inflation by keeping import prices in check and makes trips abroad cheaper. However, U.S. companies with big overseas businesses like Apple are getting hit as the value of their overseas revenue falls as their goods become more expensive to foreigners. Wall Street Journal poll. The Wall Street Journal conducted a poll of voters and their opinions regarding the election next year. 39% of those polled hadn't made up their mind which party they will vote for, and nearly 90% of those in the position of that plan to vote next year. I predict this will result in a lot of promises to throw more money around from both sides. Here's an outlier. From the Wall Street Journal yesterday, Cornel West has thrown his name into the presidential race as an independent candidate. Robert F. Kennedy plans to announce his run on Monday, so competition for Biden, which doesn't look good for him. The Fed, Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester said in a speech Monday night that she thinks another interest rate hike is on the table and warned that rates could be held higher for some time. How long the central banks hold rates at heightened levels, she added, will hinge on the strength of the U.S. economy. Mester says she sees demand moderating and that supply conditions are improving while the job market remains strong. The imbalance between demand for workers and supply is narrowing, and companies are finding it easier to find workers they need, she said. Fed officials have repeatedly said they need to see supply and demand come back into better balance for inflation to drop.
Right, but you have to wonder where the inflation is and where it isn't. So I've got a list here that talks about the 12 months change in the prices of many different categories. Rent still is leading the way with a 7.8% increase over a year ago. Restaurants and meals, personal care, housing, pets and products, they're the top 5. And let's see, and what's amazing to me is airfares come down 13.3%.
Right.
And basically a lot of travel stuff has come down. You've got furniture and school books and gasoline, which is, you may not think about it as coming down at the pumps, but it says nationally it's decreased 3.3%. So,
which is kind of tiny.
So we're moving in the right direction, and but we just got to get some of these really essential pieces like rent and let's see.
Yeah, rent's brutal.
That's the biggest one there. And groceries is still up 3%, and new vehicles are up 2.9%. So just hang in there, folks. We are getting there. It is, like Sherri said, it's just a slow and painful process to get there.
So I had a prospect this week. So I've been having Jonathan sit in on prospect meetings for the past month, and it is interesting to see the number of people who want a fixed income product. I have never had this many people want this in the 20 years I've been in this business. On Thursday, we met with a man who is 80 years old. He has millions saved. Much of it is in cash, paying nothing, and he has some CDs that are paying 5% for 14 months. Jonathan has requested some quotes, and they came in this morning, and Randy printed them out for me.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
Sure. They're called MIGAs, multi-year guaranteed annuities. They're like a CD in your bank. It's just they're offering a little bit better return, and they're not insured by the FDIC. They're covered under a different insurance program. But you can get MIGAs that are starting it for a 1 year at 4.15, and depending on how long you want to lock your money up, like a 3-year is 5.6, a 4-year is 5.6, and in this guy's case, he was wanting to lock money up for a lot longer.
Because he doesn't need it.
He can get all the way up to the 5.75 to the 6% range. But here's the interesting.
But 6% for 10 years.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to lock my money up like that just for a standard fixed rate of.
He would.
At that, some people do though, but they're looking at the Fed came out this last week and said there's probably going to be one more interest rate hike, and that could positively affect these interest rates as well. So. If you're looking for something in the fixed space and you're just curious about what it is, just give us a call. We'll be happy to send you a rate sheet and let you take a look at the companies that are behind them, and we can give you some information on those types of products. Okay. All right. Okay. Janet Yellen and the man who invented the term bond vigilantes disagree about what's happening with the Treasury market right now. There's some old-fashioned vigilante justice going on in the bond market right now, according to Ed Yardeni, a veteran investment strategist and former Fed economist who now runs the widely followed market analysis firm called Yardeni Research. Yardeni coined the phrase bond vigilante in 1983 to describe investors that sell treasuries in order to either protest against or influence monetary or fiscal policy. And in a video webcast on Wednesday, he warned that these bond vigilantes are now back in force. Not only are they saddled up, but they're already on the move, he said. According to Yardeni, some bond market investors aren't happy with the compensation they're receiving for holding U.S. Treasuries owing to the increased risk of the persistent inflation and the rising national debt. So they're selling them in droves and pushing yields higher. To his point, the yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury note has jumped from roughly 3.3 at the start of April to over 4.7 today. And this is not only the result of the Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes, but also because many investors and banks have sold off or refrained from purchasing U.S. debt. But Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen pushed back against the idea that the bond vigilantes of the past have returned to the U.S. to influence fiscal or monetary policy. Instead, she argues that the dynamics that brought out bond vigilantes decades ago don't exist today. The reason this debate matters is that the dreams of the central planners and the economists can easily be broken on the backs of an unruly bond market, as mass traders take matters into their own hands and push Treasury yields even higher. The cost of borrowing for business and consumers alike increases, weighing on the economic growth in a similar manner to rate hikes from the central bank. And in the climate of 2023, coming off the fastest series of rate hikes in over 40 years, rising bond yields are a double whammy for an economy that's still fighting off long predicted recession.
But Janet Yellen doesn't think that's what's going on at all. Yellen believes investors are simply trying to discern what interest rates central banks worldwide will need to maintain to ensure inflation doesn't rebound. If anything, in her view, the recent spike in the 10-year Treasury yield is a sign of the economy's resilience in spite of rising interest rates, not a protest against fiscal or monetary policy by bond vigilantes.
Yes, and she argued that the bond market is reacting to strong consumer spending and stabilizing housing market. She believes the economy's resilience that the bond investors see may suggest higher for longer, and that may be why the 10-year Treasury yield has surged this year. Ed Yardeni believes that the bond vigilantes are concerned about mainly reckless fiscal policy. It may very well be that the bond vigilantes are shouting to the fiscal authorities, no mas, no more, you got to do something about these out-of-control deficits. To his point, the U.S. national deficit has soared 43% from $23.2 trillion in the first quarter of 2020 to over $33.4 trillion today, owing to an unbalanced federal budget. And through the first 9 months of this year alone, the national deficit reached $1.52 trillion. On a positive note, though, Yardeni remains steadfastly bullish about the future prospects of the economy and the stock market, and he warned that bond vigilantes are seeking to increase the yield of their 10-year treasuries to compensate for greater risk of holding U.S. debt.
But it's not just these bond market leaders driving the 10-year yield higher. The Fed is also to blame. For years after the Great Recession, and particularly during the pandemic, the Fed engaged in a somewhat controversial policy called quantitative easing, where it would buy government bonds and mortgage-backed securities in order to spur lending and investment in the economy. But in April of 2022, with inflation surging toward a 4-decade high, the central bank decided to reverse that long-running policy and began a process called quantitative tightening, which slowly reduced its holding of government bonds and mortgage-backed securities. This trend can be seen in the Fed's balance sheet, where it holds these debt securities. When the pandemic began in February of 2020, the Fed had $4.1 trillion in assets on its balance sheet. Though by April of 2022, that number surged to a peak of nearly $9 trillion, owing to the QE. Then QT began, and the balance sheet shrunk to roughly $8 trillion in assets in just 17 months.
Yeah, and all of this means the Fed is holding fewer treasuries, which has increased their supply at the time when bond vigilantes are out in force, lowering demand for all U.S. government debt. As Yardeni explained, the Fed isn't helping the supply and demand dynamics in the market. Yardeni said that eventually treasuries will find buyers from U.S. households and internationally, despite the increased supply caused by the QT and a lack of demand owing to bond vigilantes. But the question is, what yield will those buyers require in compensation for the increased risk of holding U.S. debt amid higher inflation and seemingly unsustainable fiscal policy? The bond market is answering that for us on a daily basis. Yardeni concluded warning that hedge funder Bill Ackerman prediction of 5 to 5.5 10-year Treasury yields may end up coming true sooner rather than later. So
a lot going on.
A lot going on. And the bond market, people don't realize just how big and powerful the bond market is. It's bigger than, for the last 25 years, I believe it was, they're bigger than all of the equities on the stock exchanges. So,
very good. So this is an article that I'm passionate about. So it doesn't really fit into your money, but then again,
it kind of does.
It does.
It's your health.
Yeah.
Eats up a lot of your money.
So popular weight loss drugs linked to rare but severe stomach problems, a study finds. This came out just this week, CNBC. People who take popular drugs for weight loss, such as Ozempic or Wegovy, may be at an increased risk of severe stomach problems, research published Thursday in the Journal of the American Medical Association finds. The brief report is the first study of its kind, the researchers say, to establish a link between the use of such drugs, called GLP-1 agonists, for weight loss and the risk of such gastrointestinal conditions. GLP-1 agonists include semaglutide, I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, the drug found in Ozempic and Wegovy, and liraglutide, the drug used in Saxenda. Both drugs are made by Novo Nordisk. Although rare, the incidence of these adverse events can happen. I've seen it happen, said lead author Mohit Sodhi, a medical student at the University of British Columbia Faculty of Medicine in Vancouver. People should know what they're getting into. The drugs were originally developed to help people with type 2 diabetes manage their blood sugar levels, but were later found to be effective for weight loss. GLP-1 medications work in part by slowing down how quickly food passes through the stomach, leading people to feel fuller longer. But they can also lead to gastrointestinal side effects, including abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, as shown in clinical trials and noted on drug labels. More recently, as the drugs have skyrocketed in popularity, there have been reports of patients who develop stomach paralysis or gastroparesis. In August, Novo Nordisk was sued over claims that Ozempic caused a woman's stomach paralysis. Eli Lilly, which makes another GLP-1 drug, tirzepatide, has also been included in the lawsuit. The new research, based on health insurance claims from 2006 to 2020 for more than 5,000 patients in the U.S., looked at how many people develop one of 4 serious gastrointestinal problems: biliary disease, gastroparesis, pancreatitis, or bowel obstruction, after they were prescribed one of the weight loss drugs. About 4,100 of the patients were prescribed 600, liraglutide, about 600 semaglutide, and 650 the weight loss drug I can't even pronounce that. Anyways, Wegovy was not approved until 2021. However, Ozempic, which has the same active ingredients, semaglutide, was approved in 2017, and some doctors prescribe it off-label. I meant to cut some of this stuff out. Anyways, people included in the analysis all had records of obesity and did not have diabetes, which itself can cause gastroparesis.
Pancreatitis, or inflammation of the pancreatitis, occurred in a rate of about 5 cases per 1,000 users of semaglutide and 8 cases per 1,000 of liraglutide. The condition causes severe abdominal pain and in some cases requires hospitalization and surgery. Gastroparesis was seen in a rate of about 10 cases per 1,000 semaglutide and 7 cases per 1,000 users. The condition, which can be difficult to treat, causes severe nausea, vomiting, and abdominal pain. I don't even want to take this. Just listen to this.
Bowel obstructions, which occur when a blockage prevents food or liquid from moving through the intestine, were seen at a rate of 8 cases per 1,000 users of liraglutide. There were no observed cases in semaglutide users. Depending on the severity, surgery may be needed to treat a bowel obstruction. And I have a client that recently went through this. Mm-hmm. He was in the hospital for 7 days because of the drug and because they had to perform the surgery on him. Dr. Sodhi said that although the conditions are rare, the medication's widespread popularity means that if 1 million people were prescribed these drugs, tens or even hundreds of thousands of people could experience these problems. She said the rare side effects do not scare her as much as the health condition that come from obesity or being overweight. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Really? How is this fine?
It's not. Well, hey, look, this next article is, it's also not necessarily tied directly to your money, but again, it is about your health. And even though we're talking about the military in this one, you can extrapolate what they're saying here to
the rest of the world.
To the rest of the world. So here we go. The U.S. military's weighty challenge, skinny fat recruits. Twice a year, all members of the U.S. Armed Forces must pass a physical fitness test. When tape measure meets the bellies, though things can get a little complicated. Can fit people have large waists? Are skinny people automatically in shape? These matters have been prompting considerable navel-gazing in the nation's military, along with such questions as, where should you put the tape measure when you're doing the measurement? Is it the top of the iliac crest, or is it at your belly button? Who cares? These are the things that I went through in the military with them trying to define it. But anyway, they're trying to figure out the right way to do this. The Pentagon hasn't been able to conclusively decide where a person's waist is, which is part of the problem. A few extra inches of girth around the midsection can mean a person has to start remedial exercise programs or even get kicked out for being overweight.
Why don't they do a body scan?
Well,
it'd be faster.
That's one of the remedies that they're talking about, some kind of whatever measurement. So, but when I entered the Air Force in 1982, our fitness test score was based on your weight, and your height determined your optimal weight. The further you're away from that optimal or that maximum weight, the better your score was. And you had to run a 1.5 mile course for time, and the lower your time was, the better your score. So you ended up with a composite score when you were said and done. So if you were under the prescribed weight and you ran the course under the maximum time, you'd be good for 1 year. If you failed and you were on the Fat Boy program, and I'm not sure if you can even say that on the radio nowadays.
I doubt it.
Without offending somebody. Back then you could call. Anyway, no one on the program the program was not perfect, and everyone knew it. Unfortunately, the guidelines came down from the Pentagon level, and we just had to follow what they said. In an attempt to strengthen the program, the body mass index was adopted, and the next iteration of our annual weigh-in, we all had to still run the 1.5 mile course in a prescribed time. But now we had to have our bellies measured as well as our neck measured, and you subtract your neck from your belly, and that gives you a BMI score. Anyway, but if you had a big neck, it would offset your big belly girth, and you could pass the test. I served with a guy who had a massive neck. It basically started at his earlobes and went out to the tips of his shoulders, and no one knew where to measure his neck either. Anyway, he passed the test, but it was just barely. But I also had a coworker who played college-level football, and he was heavy, but he could run and pass every physical test they threw at him, but he continually had to get waivers because of his weight. He was healthier than many of the other people that were a fraction of his weight. You remember Scotty in Spain? He was the guy that smoked like 5 packs of cigarettes a day. He ran 1.5 miles smoking a cigarette.
I remember that.
That's right.
I watched that.
But now here's the problem. This is where it gets interesting. Now there's a problem. The Pentagon brass is weighing in on. Sorry, I couldn't resist. See, over the time, Americans have gotten heavier, and you may have noticed that. And the concern has shifted from scrawny soldiers to their heftier counterparts. But there is yet another problem they have to address. That is a number of skinny, fat recruits. These people don't look out of shape because of their sedentary lifestyles. They now have low muscle mass, and they're frail bones, and they have frail bones and connective tissues. The Army at Fort Moore, which is formerly Fort Benning, in case you didn't know it had changed its name, has started giving soldiers calcium supplements to counter the recent uptick in broken feet and bones.
That's crazy.
It is. According to the Army spokesman, it's guys who look good in skinny jeans, but they have a high body fat because there's no muscle. Recruiting standards are being reviewed to possibly allow heavier people into the service. And I was discussing this with a buddy of mine who just retired as a 2-star, and he confirmed the exact same things going on locally.
So my question is, if we go to war, do we still have to fight in person, or is it all done virtually by a computer like a video game?
Well, I think you're going to always have infantry, at least in our lifetime, but the phase of war has already changed. Just take a look at Russia and the Ukraine. That's just a good example. Drones and much improved over-the-horizon weapons have been utilized to a very large extent. Still, you need people who won't break bones just running and jumping. The troops at Fort Moore were breaking bones at a higher rate than normal during the obstacle course. So where I say this comes back to us sitting right here, the non-uniform wearing people, is if you've got kids that are just sitting around playing video games all the time, think about what's happening to their muscles and their bones. They're basically deteriorating, and they're going to end up with a little bit higher medical expenses down the road. So, unplug once in a while. Go outside and at least go for a walk,
Go to the park.
Yeah, go throw a baseball. Do something that's going to get some exercise. Make your kids go do it. Anyway.
So I wonder if these people are getting kicked out or if they're staying in and just getting disability.
Well, with the recruitment rates as low as they are, they're probably letting them stay in and having to try to do remediation.
But I bet they get disability when they leave because the injuries were caused by being in the military.
That's right, they will.
I would think.
Yep.
Cha-ching. Anyways, millennials on track to surpass the baby boomers
This is a good thing.
and Gen Xers in one key source of financial security, retirement savings. While the generation born in the 80s and 90s has lagged behind prior generations when it comes to home ownership and earnings, new data produced by Vanguard suggests they are saving more for retirement. By the time older millennials reach retirement, estimates show that millennials will be able to replace almost 60% of their pre-retirement income with Social Security and savings from sources including their 401ks and individual retirement accounts. And good morning, you're on with Randy and Sherri.
Good morning. It's your favorite wedding officiant.
Hello.
Good morning. How are you, Reverend?
I am doing pretty good. You're talking about the military and all.
I figured you might call in.
I have one of our members went to basic training up at Fort Leonard Wood.
Uh-huh.
And a smart kid and everything, but he's a video junkie. And I told him, I said, bro, you need to get out there and start exercising and, build that cardio up and all this stuff. So I think he really took a lackadaisical approach to it, possibly.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It goes to that, it won't happen to me. I'm nice and strong.
No, that PT kicks his butt. He's graduating, thank the Lord.
Oh, good.
On 12th. But, I mean, it was one of them things that everybody was, on pins and needles, like, is he going to make it? And he's stressed out and depressed and everything. And I'm like, bruh, whatever, when you got time off, you need to be out there jogging, man,
Yeah.
Out there, build that stuff up.
Yeah, and we know people that they have kids that literally, they when they're not in school, they're playing a video game. They don't do anything.
Or staring at a TV.
Yeah, they're not doing anything that's physical.
I call it the screen addiction.
It is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
All day long. I got a little one at church, too, that if he ain't on a phone, he on the iPad. If he ain't on the iPad, he on the computer. If he ain't on the computer, he on the TV.
Well, that's one thing our son and his wife are doing with the granddaughter is every weekend they get out and they go to a different park. And it's not like having to drive to the mountains to do it. They just go find a park that they haven't been to before that's local. And they just go walk the trails for several hours and do fun mom and dad kid stuff,
And I don't know if you heard me talking a couple of weeks ago, or I don't know when it was, about what screen time does to your vision. And they're seeing that kids are going to be nearsighted. They're going to all be wearing glasses because the parents are sticking a phone in front of their face, and it's destroying their vision.
We were at dinner last night at a local pizza place in Warner Robins, and there were 3 kids sitting at the table next to us. And Sherri said, look at that, 2 of the 3 children, and they were very small. They were like 5 years old.
Already in glasses.
Already in glasses, but each of them had a screen right in front of them.
They were stared at the whole time they were at the restaurant.
Yep.
All right, we got to stop this. We got to stop the staring at screens.
I think they're all going to go cross-eyed. But 2 quick points. One is I also have another young man who actually is at the YDC Youth Detention Center, and he is there because he has an addiction to social media.
Wow.
He has stolen his mother's credit cards, stolen money. He's figured out how to bypass her passwords and all this. He's that smart,
Yeah.
But he's using it all for the wrong things.
That's right.
And it's all about social media, because that's what he uses the money for. It's not like he's out buying crack or nothing, But
But still, he's doing things that are not ethical.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I'm saying what he's doing is for something that you can't even put your hands on.
Right. That's
digital,
right.
So he can upgrade his avatar and do all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, wow. So we got to pray for these kids, man. It's crazy.
We got to get involved with them. That's what we have to do. Parents cannot be sending them off to school and hoping that the teachers will teach them everything they need to know about life.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the things we try to do at churches. Last event we took them on, we took them down to making rocks. We had the rock climbing wall.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Our kids, most of our kids are low income, and they would, never, ever go there. And I was really surprised. I'm like, I'm going to challenge them. I'm going to see if they'll do it. And they actually, everyone except for one.
Oh, that's great.
20-some kids. Only one of them did not climb that wall. I had the 2-year-old She went all 30 feet up in the air.
What?
Look, Pastor, look. All right, you know.
Did you climb the wall?
No, I don't think the ropes were strong enough. You know, I jumped out enough helicopters.
I hear you, yes.
I had to supervise. Somebody had to be on the ground to supervise.
I like that.
I like it too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, guys. Well, I'm out of here. Y'all have a wonderful, blessed day.
Yay, you too.
To Young Harris today.
All right.
Oh, nice.
And,
Beautiful.
And tomorrow, I guess I should tell you, tomorrow we're going to Dalton, where yours truly will be elevated to the office of bishop.
All right.
Wow.
That's
cool.
Quite an honor. So
that's awesome. Congratulations.
All right, guys. Y'all have a wonderful
You too.
day. Talk to you later. Bye.
Before we go on, you've been listening to Your Money with Randy and Sherri Goss at Rosenberg Financial Group. And if you'd like to call in today and contribute to the show, the number is 478-742-0940. Rosenberg Financial Group has offices in Macon and Warner Robins, and you can learn more about us by visiting our website, retirerelax.com. We offer complimentary consultations, and set up an appointment is really easy. Just call our office, 478-922-8100. And don't forget, we do offer seminars to the community, so if you're looking for a guest speaker, give us a call, and we'll connect you with Sherri, and you can talk to her about the topics you'd like to discuss.
So back to the article about millennials saving more. So what changed? Millennials are saving more and earlier, largely because contributing to a 401k became the default in many plans, unlike baby boomers and Gen X workers, many of whom delayed joining 401k plans.
Millennials were often automatically enrolled earlier in their careers, while those who are swept into the plans can opt out if they don't want to save for retirement. But as we're happy to report here today that very few are opting out.
I'm shocked.
I am too. As a result of staying with the automatic program, the retirement savings picture is getting stronger with each passing generation.
Among the 1,700 employers that use Vanguard's 401k services, nearly 60% automatically enroll new hires, up from 10% in 2006 when Congress passed a law encouraging the practice. Many plans that auto-enroll also automatically raise workers' savings rates, typically by 1 percentage point a year until hitting a threshold such as 10% of their pay. One 34-year-old person that was interviewed said that when he graduated from college in 2012 and began working as an engineer at a tech company, his employer automatically enrolled him in the 401k plan with 3% of his pay. He said, I wasn't thinking about retirement at all. They sent me this letter saying they were going to auto-enroll me, and I said, okay, I'll do what it says to do. So he increased his 401k savings rate to 12% in 2014 after building an emergency savings account. There's not that much financial education in college, which is why automatic enrollment is helpful, he said. It gives you a default savings option until you educate yourself on what the 401k can do for you.
Right, and there are plenty of websites that offer free advice to help people who are unfamiliar with investing get up to speed. And I recommend that someone who wants to understand more, become familiar with some of the terms that they would run into when they're getting a loan or opening an investment account. That way, at least, you can have a conversation with the person that's sitting in front of you.
A 2021 study by Boston College's Center for Retirement Research found that millennials in their mid-30s are catching up to where older generations stood at similar ages on measures including earnings and rates of home ownership. But since millennials have more student loan debt, they are still behind in overall wealth accumulation.
Yeah, well, it's a step in the right direction for this group of people, and we're glad to see this trend. But, before we leave this article, if you have the ability to get into a 401k, especially one that's 401k matching, have to remember, this is pre-tax money that's going in.
You're saving just by saving.
And you're not, so if you plan on putting $1 in, you're not going to miss $1 out of your paycheck because it's pre-tax. So it's a great way to get started. So if you're one of those people who have just said, I'm going to do this later, I'm going to push kick that can down the road, reconsider.
Do it now because it's open enrollment season.
Reconsider it and get some money, start getting some money going towards your retirement. Enough of that one. Well, they found out who leaked Trump's tax returns, as well as thousands of other wealthy Americans. It turns out it was an IRS contractor. Federal prosecutors charged an Internal Revenue Service contractor with stealing the tax returns of the former President Donald Trump and thousands of other wealthy Americans and leaking them to news organizations, apparently solving a 2-year puzzle over the security breach that prompted outrage from lawmakers and administration officials. Charles Littlejohn, 38, of Washington, D.C., was charged with 1 count of unauthorized disclosure of tax information, and he faces up to 5 years in prison, according to a Justice Department news release. Court records don't name the taxpayers the news organization or the company that Little John worked for, but the descriptions match two of the largest and most consequential disclosures of private tax information. The charge marks the first sign of progress in a 2-year-long investigation that has proceeded quietly. IRS employees generally take tax returns privacy seriously, and workers and contractors know that their actions in agency computers can be tracked. As a result, the breaches of taxpayer tax privacy are rare, with the volume of information and the unusual disclosures in the ProPublica and the Times shocked the agency officials and lawmakers. The pace of the investigation called into question whether the IRS computer tracking tool had gaps in them. While many questions remain, at the very least, IRS guardrails failed to prevent this shameless breach of taxpayer rights. Any disclosure of taxpayer information is unacceptable, said the IRS Commissioner.
You think?
Yeah. Werfel. The IRS has put in place new protocols and protections that tighten security, and their aggressive work is critical and critical and continues to be perfected to protect the financial information of taxpayers.
Until you get hacked.
Right.
We've been hacked so many times that it's just not even funny.
Yeah, but the IRS is in the process of updating all their computer systems. We talked about that about 6 months ago, and hopefully they're just going to make it where someone can't do this. It's just
there's a big target on their head.
I don't care who it is. Even if you don't like Trump or wealthy Americans, it could be you. So
right. So the 3 worst car buying mistakes, things to watch out for and avoid. I thought this was interesting because I can't believe people don't do these things. And I don't know.
So many people don't do these.
So here's a crash course. Mistake number 1, skipping the mechanical checkup. All new cars at dealerships generally have to pass an inspection before they leave the lot. If some part of your car breaks a week after you bought it, the dealership should take care of the problem. If you're buying a used car, you should find a local mechanic to conduct a pre-purchase inspection before you complete the deal. Call around for a local quote. The inspection should run $100 to $200. If a car dealership doesn't let you bring in an outside inspector, that is likely a sign that you probably shouldn't buy the car. So does Preston get a lot of this at the shop in Milledgeville?
He gets a fair number of it, yeah.
Okay.
And I'll talk about that in a second.
So not getting an inspection means you'll have to deal with the problem yourself.
Yep. And I remember when we bought the car business in Milledgeville, a guy came in with a vehicle he had just purchased like 2 days prior, and it had a loud squeaking in the engine. And we opened the hood, and it was apparent that the belt tensioner and the water pump both needed to be replaced. It was not a horribly expensive repair, but it was something else to pay for. Of course, the used car dealer said he was not responsible for the repairs. The vehicle was sold as is.
And he drove it off the lot.
That's right. I asked our son about how he views this issue, and he feels that it's essential, especially if you're not familiar with vehicles and what to look for. And even if you know your way around a vehicle, you probably won't have the electronic diagnostics tools available to pull the codes from the vehicle's computer that could point to hidden problems. Additionally, there is a benefit to having the vehicle put up on a lift so that the undercarriage can be inspected. It's a whole other perspective when you get under the vehicle like this. You can spot leaks and other issues that may not be visible just from looking under the hood. He says that when he does an inspection, he normally charges about a half hour's labor, and for him that's about $60. And the customer provides the customer with diagnostics report and lists the concerns with an estimate to repair them.
Very good. Mistake number 2, paying for things you don't need. Buying a car can mean a lot of extra expenses. Mud flaps, anyone? But not all of them are necessary. Car dealerships have been known to throw a bunch of extras onto a purchase price or purchase once you're signing papers. Among the things you might see on the purchase are underbody coating, wear and tear warranties on items such as tires and brake pads, and vehicle tracking systems like LoJack. You can decline any of these items if they aren't yet installed. Nearly anything a dealer can add to your car, from tinted windows to special tires, can probably be had for less elsewhere. Of course, it takes time and a little research to find these items. The dealership has to present all the line items clearly to you so you can account for any discrepancy between the manufacturer's suggested retail price and what is presented. If they don't budge from the number, walk out. Nathan McAlpine, the founder of CarMate, a car broker, said most people who purchase extras, including paint protection and additional roadside service, often forget they even have them.
Yeah, and let me say something about any car, new and used. They have this very high pressure a lot of times. And I know the last time we purchased a vehicle for the automotive shop, it was horrible trying to get out of one of the showrooms because they kept saying, no, I got to let this person talk to you. I'm going to get fired if this person doesn't talk to you. And it's really nothing more than high-pressure sales. So, they
walk away.
Walk away. Just say the heck with it. I'm out of here. Get in your car. They're not going to follow you.
Number 3, skipping the things that do make sense to buy. If you plan to keep your vehicle a long time, you could prepay for lifetime oil changes.
Like you.
Yeah, I did, and I'm telling you that's paid off. But if you're a frequent trader, that may not pay off. I'm saving a lot of money because I opted in on that. Because back in the day when I bought my car, oil changes were like $20 a piece, and now they're over $60. And anyways, paying to be on a wait list for popular models where dealerships take a fee to ensure you're in line when cars arrive is just one more of the many ways car buying has changed. The fee, which can run $500 or more, usually is a deposit on the vehicle, and you can get the money back if you don't end up wanting or liking the car when it comes in.
Yep. And when buying a used car, don't make a purchase without checking the services such as Carfax, which provides the vehicle history. Carfax will tell you how many owners there have been, where the car came from, if there's been any accidents. It's worth the money. I was looking for an Impala online several years back, and the seller assured me there was no need to do a Carfax when I mentioned getting the report. He said the car had been in his family and never wrecked. Well, he was correct. The car was never wrecked, according to the Carfax.
Never in a wreck.
Never in a wreck when I ran the van. However, there was a major repair to a tree falling on it. Many times cars will come from flooded areas, cleaned up and put up for sale, complete with that new car smell. These cars are not completely overhauled to include. If these cars are not completely overhauled to include the wiring harness, you could be buying something that's going to be your headache.
For used cars, some retailers allow returns, such as CarMax, which offers 30 days to change your mind as long as you drive no more than 1,500 miles, so that might be a place to go.
Right.
We've dealt with them a couple of times, and they seem pretty nice.
They were pretty straight up, and I didn't have a bit of problems with those guys. We sold a car there, and we bought a car there. So, anyway, let's see here. Your will alone will not guarantee your money goes to your heirs. Say what? Many people assume that their will be the final word on who gets what when they die, but some documents can override wills, and chances you have already filled out some of them. The beneficiary forms for retirement accounts, life insurance, and some banks and brokerage accounts. Those are just a few examples. This is true whether the accounts are open through the workplace or on your own. Get them wrong, and your assets could end up with an ex-spouse or in a court battle. Estate planners say this is a growing issue as more Americans juggle multiple accounts and have more of their net worth in retirement accounts. At the end of the day, you've got to ensure that the beneficiary forms match your intent and your estate plan. And here's an example. When Dr. James Ricconi's third wife left him, he rushed to update his will and other estate planning documents to ensure that she would get nothing when he died. But since the handwritten changes he faxed to the insurance company wasn't accepted, his 3 children from his first marriage ended up in a 6-year legal fight with her over the benefits after he died. His son Tony was the executor and was told by his father what he wanted to happen with regards to his estate when he died, and he was bound and determined not to let her win. With insurance payouts, the policy is a workplace. If the policy is a workplace plan obtained through your employer, the employer plan document controls the payout. If the policy was purchased on your own, the insurance company's rules govern, and battles typically end up in state court. Beneficiary designations are often an afterthought, but they need to be taken seriously. Whether you're filling out new hire paperwork or moving an account from one institution to another, you'll need to fill out a new form. Be sure to include the details about your beneficiaries, such as the date of birth and their Social Security number. Failing to update the forms when life circumstances change is a very common mistake. If you get married, divorced, or have children, make sure you make these revisions. With bank and brokerage accounts, people will often add a pay on death designation by filling out a special beneficiary form for convenience and then forget about them. That can cause disputes between children who feel they were treated unequal. The bottom line is that creating these critical documents is important, especially if you care about what happens to your estate when you die. It is equally important to ensure that they are current as events in your life change. So take a few minutes to review your beneficiary designations. Your will, your bank accounts, and any other documents that you have will spring into effect upon your death. And make sure your spouse, children know where to find these records. So
This is something we do with our clients on a periodic basis. And while you're at it, go to our website, retirerelax.com, and print out the pages of my life book. It'll walk you through all the steps you need to take to make sure everything goes as it should when you pass. And I will tell you, from my background in insurance, I was doing enrollments at companies, and I would find that all the young men would name their mother as beneficiary.
Yep.
And those people never come back and ask you, should you update this? Should you change this? Do you want it to be someone else? Are you married now? They don't ask because there's no time to ask. It's on totally on the person to remember to take care of this. And it's that time of year now where you have those people enrolling at your company. Get with them and make sure that your beneficiaries are right.
Well, I was guilty of that too. After we got married, it was about 5 years before we realized my mom and dad were the beneficiaries of my SGLI.
I had forgotten all about that.
That's right. Why are you giving me the skunk eye?
Anywho, the new face of nuclear energy is Miss America.
This is a great article.
Does the U.S. need more nuclear power? Miss America thinks so. So do Oliver Stone, Elon Musk, and Sam Altman. Atomic energy is elbowing its way back into the conversation about future energy supplies with backers in the Biden administration and oil and gas industries alike. It has also re-entered the American conversation thanks to movies, billionaire backers, and Miss America. Grace Stanke, I looked up how to pronounce her name, the reigning Miss America, is on a charm offensive for the industry as part of a year-long publicity tour. Why isn't this being shouted from the rooftops, asked Stanke, a 21-year-old nuclear engineering student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Maybe she could run for president someday. She is too Wisconsin nice to shout, but in more than 20 states she has touted clean energy and nuclear medicine at schools, nursing homes, a state legislature, and once on a water skiing podcast. It's the industry that saved my dad twice from cancer, Stanke said, referring to radiation and other treatments. It powers 20% of America. The youngest of 3 children, Stanke grew up in Wausau, Wisconsin. She started participating in pageants at age 13 as a way to improve her performance skills for violin and got interested in nuclear science in high school when her dad, a civil engineer, told her not to go into the field because there was no future in it. I got into it out of spite, she said.
I love that. I do.
When you're a 16-year-old girl and your dad tells you not to do something, you go and do it. Stanke spoke at the World Nuclear Association Symposium in London this month and aims to remain an industry voice even after she crowns the next Miss America. She is completing her last elective class online and has accepted a job with Constellation Energy, which owns the nation's largest collection of nuclear power plants. The job, which will start in 2024, will include a mix of technical work as a nuclear fuels engineer and public advocacy. I love that.
I do too. America's nuclear power sector has for decades faced a public relations challenge, burdened by high costs, long construction timelines, plant closures, and concerns over disasters such as Fukushima and radioactive waste. And its Hollywood image includes giant mutants like the HBO series Chernobyl and the atomic weapons race in the slumber blockbuster Oppenheimer. Springfield Nuclear Power Plant employs Homer Simpson, where he dropped a donut into a reactor core to try to make the pastry bigger. I love that. It's always playing the villains, Stanke said. After all, it's what created Godzilla. Godzilla appeared in Stone's new documentary, Nuclear Now, though it argues that nuclear power is an obvious way to reduce the impact of climate change. In a similar message, Stanke's with a crustier delivery.
At one time, Atomic Energy had a glitzy image inspiring mushroom cloud hairstyles and starburst patterned home decor. In a 1957 Walt Disney television presentation called Our Friend the Atom, Atomic Energy was portrayed as a genie. Here with my right hand, I give you the magic fire of the atom, whose destructive force can be controlled for good. Tourists in the 50s flocked to the desert near Las Vegas to watch bomb tests. In a publicity photo of Miss Atomic Bomb, a showgirl wears a bathing suit decorated with a cottony mushroom cloud. It was exciting because it was American, Spencer Wart, physicist and author of The Rise of Nuclear Fear, said. It was a thumb in the eye to the communists, and at the same time, it was seen as something that would bring vast economic benefits. It was the future. It was going to be run by nuclear energy. The advent and proliferation of the hydrogen bomb during the Cold War changed public perception, leading to an anti-nuclear movement.
Yep, and a Pew Research Center report indicates about 57% of Americans favor more nuclear power plants, up from 43% in 2020. The industry now has a shot at billions of dollars in federal funding through the Climate-Focused Inflation Reduction Act, infrastructure laws, and government-backed loans for new projects because of its ability to provide 24/7 power without greenhouse emissions. And Sherri, we're down at the very end of the show. and we are
That's
at the 1 minute mark. So anyway.
Yep. Very good.
Anyway, thanks everybody, and thanks for the callers that called in today. It was nice to hear from you guys, and thanks to everyone for listening to the show. Your Money, produced by Rosenberg Financial Group. As financial advisors, the main thing that we do is provide retirement planning and advice and manage our clients' investment accounts. So if you're looking for a financial advisor, please contact our office to set up a complimentary consultation. Our office number is 478-922-8100, and you can learn more about us by visiting our website, retirerelax.com. And if you have questions or topics you would like for us to cover next week, email me at randy@rfmoney.com, and we look forward to connecting with you next week. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Osaic Wealth Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Osaic Wealth is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Osaic Wealth.